Hey, what's up, Jackson Villains? We're back for another episode of The Back Office with Dave and Jeff. But before we get started, a little bit of a word from our sponsors.
This Hungry for a Win pregame is brought to you by Edgewater Companies, Inc. Whether you're looking for a new casita by the beach or a post-game pad downtown, Edgewater is your go-to real estate solution. Please visit www.edgewatercompaniesinc.com for more information.
Oh yeah, 1-0, baby. Let's go, Jags. All right, people. The Jaguars are 1-0 to many people's surprise. However, we have our biggest test of the season yet. We are headed to Nashville for a 1 o'clock kickoff time against the 1-0 Titans, a divisional game that you got to win these divisional games if you want to control your own destiny. And the Jaguars are heading into Nashville as a heavy underdog. Initially, they were getting 10 points on the line. That has moved to now plus 7.5. So Vegas seems to think the Jaguars might be worth backing, but nonetheless, we are a big underdog. And in fact, we haven't won in Nashville since 2013. So we're looking to get over that hump. We're facing a familiar foe in Derrick Henry, a Jacksonville native, and he always tends to show out when he plays his hometown team. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to be scared, but we'll kick off the show with the Jalen Ramsey injury report. Some notable injuries going to this game from the Jaguars. We'll be missing Tyler Davis again. We missed him last year. He's the tight end, 6th-round pick. Additionally, our starting free safety, Jared Wilson, is out. Filling in for him is going to be Andrew Wingard, who had an interception last game. So we have that to look forward to, see how he shows out. As far as the Titans, they are a little bit banged up. They're missing their star receiver, A.J. Brown, their starting cornerback, Dory Jackson. So two key injuries the Jaguars will be looking to take advantage of. Someone that we didn't touch on last episode, but D.D. Westbrook, our starting slot receiver at one point, he was a healthy scratch last game. So that was interesting to see. I think it just speaks to the stable of young wide receivers that we have on the team this year. But any initial thoughts, Dave, from last week?
Yeah, before we jump into the recap from last week, I'd say that, one disappointing thing for the Jags, one very positive thing for the Titans is that their starting middle linebacker, Rashaan Evans, will be able to play after taking a closed fist swing at Jake Butt in the Broncos game on Monday night. A little bit surprised that he didn't pull the suspension for this week, but the Jags will do what they can to lock him down. So, shifting gears back to last week, I think all of us went into the game, frankly, a little bit worried about the positioning of the team, and I came out really optimistic. So I'm super excited to see if they can carry that momentum into week 2. Like you said, obviously a huge test for the Tennessee Titans. We haven't won since 2013 under the Gus Bradley regime. I'd very much look forward to not seeing Will Blackman's tweet next season about being the last person to beat the Titans. For those of you who don't know who Will Blackman is, there's probably a reason he wasn't on the team for very long, but he got a strip sack to win the last time in Nashville. And he likes to remind all the Jaguars fans of that. So I think last week, the key pieces to hit on: one, the efficiency from the quarterback position. Gardner had an absolutely fantastic day. Carried on into the locker room post game, really showing the leadership that all of us are looking for in Gardner. 2, James Robinson, biggest surprise probably coming out right out the gate, 60 yards plus in the first half. Obviously, they adjusted in the second half and shut him down, but I think that he was really the key piece that opened up that passing game. And then the third piece, I'd say, is that the defense really showed up way more than I expected. So that would be the recap on my end. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I echo all those things. The defense played really great when it mattered, but there still is some concern about forcing 3 and outs. We did see one punt last week, some very timely turnovers, but it's going to take a lot more to stop this running attack from Tennessee. And they're going to have to be more consistent doing that. And that segues into our lock down the bank base defense facts. So looking at this matchup against the Titans offense, obviously we're expecting Derrick Henry to run wild on us like he has previously. In fact, Vegas has his rushing total at 118.5 yards, which is extremely high. So a lot of people think that the Jaguars interior and linebackers are in for a tough day against Derrick Henry and their offensive line. Their offensive line is probably not as robust as the Indianapolis Colts, but Derrick Henry himself is a monster. So the defensive line has the work cut out for them. And I think that, takes us into looking deep into how the interior defensive line performed last week. That's the conglomerate of Devon Hamilton, Taven Bryan, Avery Jones, Timmy Jernigan. And then we have some bigger defensive ends like Dwan Smoot and Adam Ostis. Those are bigger guys who play on the outside who, in obvious rushing downs, their job is to play that Calais Campbell role and set the edge. And that's where Derrick Henry can get really dangerous is, you can sell out to stop an interior run, but he has enough speed for a big fella that if he can get to the outside and hit that second level, you're talking about, your cornerbacks having to shed blocks and make tackles. And that's a matchup that you don't want to put yourself in. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the elephant in the room is Derrick Henry. Historically, the Jags have had an absolutely terrible time trying to shut him down, especially early in the game, and not letting the defensive game plan kind of slip away super duper early. And for that to be different this time around, I think you're going to need to see a vast improvement week over week from the interior defensive line. Not to harp on them too much. I mean, I do think that the interior played well last week. This week, if I were Todd Wash, I would definitely be getting more action out of Timmy Jernigan. I think out of all the interior players, he really impressed a lot on very few snaps. I think part of that's because he joined the team late. So I think we should start to see more snaps headed his way. And Devon Hamilton, as you said, I mean, I would get him involved early and often. I think that he's going to turn out to be a steal in the third round. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but really didn't see a lot out of Taven last week. So I'm hoping that that we're not just investing in Taven because we picked him above Lamar Jackson. But it sure seems like the defensive coaching staff still is very confident for whatever reason in him and continue to play him. Take the lion's share of defensive snaps at the defensive tackle position. So that's what I'm watching. I think that for us to be successful, we really, really, really need to get more productivity out of all those guys. But like I said, specifically Jernigan and Devon Hamilton are the ones I'm looking at, and I hope that they get many more snaps than they got last week.
Yeah, we're really lucky that A.J. Brown is going to be missing this game. He is an emerging bona fide number one receiver. So not only does that provide some relief to guys like C.J. Henderson and Trey Herndon, who have been playing well, but they can kind of center their focus on just Corey Davis and Adam Humphries.
Yep.
And I think it's going to allow the defense to sell out a little bit more against the run and allow guys like Josh Allen and Caleb Chasen off the edge to take advantage of a pretty mediocre right tackle in Dennis Kelly for the Tennessee Titans, not just for the pass rush, which we would expect to be a little bit more productive this game, but also just getting around the edge and hitting Derrick Henry before he crosses the line of scrimmage. You can't let that guy build up velocity into the second level, similar to how Leonard Fournette, for years, we were trying to open up holes so that he could get to the linebackers and to the safeties and create big plays, and that just never seemed to pan out for the Jaguars. It works for the Tennessee Titans, and it's going to be something that we're going to have to hope that we can get contact on Derrick Henry immediately when he's handed off the ball.
Yeah, and to go back to a training camp quote from Josh Allen, he's been very outspoken about the fact that he's not just a pass rusher. He's not just here to get sacks. He's here for tackles for loss. Here's his chance. He's got a weaker relative right tackle that he's going to be going one-on-one with most of the game. If he can get in the backfield before Henry hits the line of scrimmage, I think we're in much better shape. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a big, big prove-it game for Joe Schobert. He was the middle linebacker from Cleveland that we paid about $14-15 million in the offseason. He's a terrific pass defender, just has a great awareness for where he is in space, and really knows how offensive schemes work. And it was really great to see them pick up a talent like that. But it was a bit head scratching to all of us because the glaring issue all of last year was stopping the run. It seems like the move to bring in Schobert to the middle and let Miles kick out to the weak side linebacker spot immediately elevated the play of that position group. But they're going to have their work cut out for them, making sure that they wrap up Derrick Henry because those missed tackles just really the Titans can really make you pay for those if you let Derrick Henry slip and, like I said, force a corner or a safety to have to make a tackle.
Yeah, maybe a little bit out of left field prediction on my side. I would not be surprised if you saw a little bit of action out of Shaq Quarterman in early base downs. He's a thumper at the University of Miami. I think that if there's one thing that I was really impressed with and surprised with last week was the ability of Todd Wash to change the scheme and adapt to both the players that he's playing and the players he's got on the field. And I think that's a guy that was a steal where they took him in, I believe, the 5th round, but had the reputation of Miami as a sellout, hit you as hard as he possibly can on every play kind of guy. That's exactly what you need to stop Derrick Henry. So I don't know if that means on base downs you move Schobert to the strong linebacker position where he can be more effective and play action and put Shaquille Quarterman in the middle, or if he's just more of a rotational player. But I think we'll see a little bit more of him this week.
Yeah, I could certainly see him coming in like short down or goal line opportunities as just an additional linebacker to create some thump. So yeah, that's really interesting to see if he finally gets some playing time. Go ahead. I think from a fan's perspective, if you want to watch one matchup during the game, keep your eyes on, and as we mentioned earlier, the Titans' right tackle. Either Josh Allen or Caleb Unchasen is going to be rushing from that side. They'll be rotating, but I think that they're going to finally have a bit of a feast on that right tackle. And hopefully the Jaguars can get out to an early lead where we put the Titans into a position that Ryan Tannehill has to start throwing the ball a lot. That's going to be advantageous for the Jaguars. But playing from behind is just really difficult to do against a ground-and-pound team like the Titans, who are really similarly built to the 2017 Jaguars. A lot of people suspect that they were going to see some regression this year because the ground-and-pound offensive style, teams adjust. It's hard to replicate year over year, and you have to have excellent play out of your defense. And so all those things combined, I think it's a good analogy to compare them to the old 2017 team. Definitely keep an eye on our pass rushers. I think they're going to have their day.
Last quick storyline on the defense before we shift over to offense. Andrew Wingard stepping in as the starting safety. Obviously came up with a big play last week, really helped seal that game. I'd say previously, not a guy that's seen the field a lot, and when he has typically left you scratching your head. How do you think he's going to fill the shoes of Jared Wilson as kind of the captain of that secondary?
Yeah, and that's a great way to phrase that. Jared Wilson really is the captain of that secondary. Very smart guy. Andrew Wingard had a great play, but relatively inexperienced. So I just hope that he can play an error-free ball game, and we don't look back at this game and say, man, what was he doing when Corey Davis, ran that fly route? Additionally, it's nice having Josh Jones there because he's a guy that we can really rely on to make tackles. So I really don't want to see a one-on-one matchup with Andrew Wingard and Derrick Henry because that may not bode well for Mr. Wingard. So, if I don't hear his name called at all throughout the game, I'll be very happy.
Agreed. And just so everybody's aware of our downside protection, there's multiple free safeties that are available as free agents right now. But Earl Thomas and Clinton Dix are there. So if this is a really bad week for the young man, we might be making a move. So, all right, maybe shifting gears to the offense. Let's talk about the Gruden grind for a win offensive outlook. First topic I think we should touch on is the sustainability of the passing game. Obviously, last week was an absolute show for Gardner, 19 of 20. 20 out of 20 if you count the drop by the rookie Laviska Shenault. Don't think we're going to get a whole lot better than that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what your expectations are going in against a kind of beat up Titan secondary.
Yeah, definitely want to exploit their weaknesses in the secondary. However, they do have a pretty stout front seven, so it's going to require Gardner doing a lot of what he did last week, but getting the ball out super early. He may not have a ton of time back there. Our two offensive tackles are going to have their work cut out for themselves against Jadeveon Clowney and Harold Landry coming off the edge. Additionally, they have some pretty good guys in the interior like Jeffrey Simmons. So I'm looking for Jake Gruden to allow Gardner to work out of the shotgun, get some quick throws. I think Laviska will continue to take on a big role in the offense because he's a guy that you just want to get the ball in his hands and let him run because he runs like a running back. He wasn't taken down once last game. Every time they tried to tackle him, he either scored, went out of bounds, or they just stood him up and waited for the refs to blow the whistle. So that's a guy that I think you're going to see lined up in the slot. We have wide receivers that pride themselves on being able to block. You get Laviska the ball and let him do his thing. But I expect Jay Gruden to come out with another really creative set of play designs because now the league has kind of been put on notice that Gardner Minshew is the real deal. I don't see any reason to doubt him anymore. Usually the first week is a tune-up game. I mean, we made excuse after excuse for Blake Bortles, but he came out just ready to play. So I think he is a bona fide, maybe not a star, but a bona fide player in this league. And I'm looking forward to see what Jay Gruden does now that there's some tape on the offense. They're going to have to continue to be nimble and creative so that nothing, becomes too repetitive for defenses to anticipate.
Yeah, absolutely. On that, the positive note in my mind is that, and I don't, we don't have the tape to go back and watch it, but it seemed like we were a bit repetitive in the last game. We went back to the well on that Keenan Cole touchdown was a play that they'd run earlier to no success. Jay Gruden went back to it. It seemed like we were running very similar schemes throughout the whole game, and I think that's a good thing because not only were we successful doing it, there's also a whole bunch of the playbook I'm assuming nobody's seen yet. And so to your point, I think Gruden coming in and mixing it up early is great. I'd love to see us take some shots downfield early in the game so that they can't just stack the box on James Robinson, which is probably a very good segue into I think the next big topic that we should talk about is James Robinson for real, and can the offensive line continue to dominate early and put us in a position where the passing game can really start attacking the defense?
Yeah, most definitely. I think the matchup this week might be a little bit more of a challenge than what we faced with the Indianapolis Colts. But altogether, that offensive line really was able to create some push, created holes for James Robinson. He just simply executed. He didn't miss a whole lot of opportunities, ran the ball hard. He has a really, really great acceleration. Like once he gets between the tackles, those next 3 steps just take him so far up the field. And so I'm really excited about him. For your first game as a rookie, making the jump from the FCS league all the way to the NFL, he looked totally comfortable playing, in the big leagues. So
yes, especially on that lunge.
yeah, that's something Leonard Fournette does not have in his playbook. So I'm excited for him. If we can establish the run early, we're going to gather guys into the box, and then Minshew's just going to be able to dice up the secondary. So if we can just get some kind of consistent rushing attack going, it's going to be really good for the Jaguars.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it really opens up another theme that you already laid out, which is allowing Laviska to really become that chess piece. I think having a strong rushing attack and be able to use him both out of the slot, maybe as a second back out of the shotgun. There's a whole lot of things you can do if you run the ball well early in the game. And, I think for us to have success this week, I think James Robinson's got to get going early. And there's nothing from last week that makes me think that he's not going to be able to. So really looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, something to look for from a fan's perspective. Keep an eye on where DJ Chark is. I imagine he's going to be shadowed by Malcolm Butler, who's a big physical corner. He was the guy who made the big play in the Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowl victory. So he made a bunch of money just off that play, and he's somewhat lived up to the contract. I think he'll have his hands full of DJ Chark. But the reason I bring it up is On the opposite side of the field, most likely is going to be rookie Christian Fulton out of LSU, and he's a really savvy corner. He can play really well. I was pretty upset that he fell all the way to the second round to the Titans, but I don't think he is nearly as physical, and you have a guy like Chris Conley matched up against him. Look for the Jaguars to run that way, because if James Robinson can bounce it to the outside, or we can get Laviska on like an end around, run to that side, Conley's going to eat up that rookie corner, and we're going to see some big run plays to that side.
Totally agree. And I think for that reason, you'll also see a bunch of 2 tight end looks. Both O'Shaughnessy and Tyler Eifert are great blockers. I think having an extra tight end there to double down on whatever side Christian Fulton is on is a great move for the running game.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if Tyler Eifert gets some more looks. That could be like a breakout player of this game. Like, we're not talking about him. There's not a lot of tape on what we were doing with him. And then he's a guy that they could probably draw up a few crafty plays, and you could see him get a touchdown this next game. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick because I want to show just one of the highlights from last game. This was the touchdown to – Dave, you can see that on your end?
Yeah.
Okay. This was the touchdown to Laviska Shenault. And it's really savvy because – or not to Laviska Shenault, sorry, to DJ Chark. But it's a great play design because you have Laviska right here come in motion. And you'll see the whole defense shift this way just because they have their eyes on him. Like, no one wants to have to tackle him in the open field. These similar to how we're talking about Derrick Henry, you got to get this guy a hand on him before he starts accelerating. So you see him come in motion here. The whole defense is looking at Laviska Shenault. Yeah. You see the safety, like, oh snap! I got to get down on this guy. Gardner just sells it perfectly, and it's amazing. He looks at Laviska, and then he just repositions his footing lightning quick and just throws a dart here to DJ Chark. Oh, sorry, this was Keelan Cole.
Yeah, but to stay on the topic, similar play design on the DJ Chark touchdown.
Yes.
Also flipped off Laviska Shenault.
So that just
goes to show how well Gruden is adapting to what they have on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a lot to look forward to from Laviska Shenault, and yeah, I think he could have a big day tomorrow, most certainly. All right. Looks like we're having some difficulty with Dave here. You there, Dave?
I'm back.
Okay, cool.
I got to pay my internet bill.
So, yeah, that's a lot to look at for the offense. I think the name of the game is just going to hope that Gardner can recreate and reproduce the accuracy that he showed last game. He's going to have the windows and the opportunities to tear up that secondary. We just have to hope that both our tackles come to play, and if they can reproduce the effort that they made last game and slowing down Clowney and Landry, it's going to give Gardner enough time and ample comfortability in the pocket to make plays.
Well, speaking of Gardner, I think it's the moment that everyone is tuned in for, the Gardner Minshew guest segment. Where is he?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't blame the guy, but unfortunately he had to meet with his stylist this week. It's his first road trip fit. So getting on the PJ, he has to look good. And I know he wants to show out for everyone. I mean, it's the first outfit of the season. So it looks like that appointment with the stylist is running a little bit long. Yeah, he just texted me. So unfortunately, Gardner isn't going to be able to make it. But we'll catch up with him before. Yeah, we'll catch up with him before the Dolphins game. He said, he's not no chance that he misses it next week. So look forward to that next week, our beloved listeners.
All right.
Next up, what do we got, Dave?
I believe it's the Brinks Truck Lock of the Week.
Back up the truck, baby. So unfortunately, we are 0-1, but that was an unofficial pick since we got the pod out right at kickoff. So we're going to start fresh, 0-0. That was the warm-up pick. So looking at the props that are available right now, I would be tempted to double down on Chris Thompson again, just because I feel like Jay Gruden is savvy enough that we're going to see a lot of different people touch. We already saw, I think, maybe 7 different guys touch the ball last game. But I think Chris Thompson will get more involved in the offense. However, if I want to put my money somewhere that's going to net me some return on the investment, I'm going to take the Derrick Henry under 118.5 yards. I think the defense shows up and sells out. I think we put their offense in a position that they need to start throwing the ball. That's a really optimistic take. But I just think 118.5 yards is just outright disrespectful. And I think our young guns come out to play. We've got 16 rookies on this roster. We are by far the youngest roster in the NFL. And the way these guys are playing together, it just gets you hyped up. They're having fun. You've got 4 starters out of the rookie class that are contributing valuable minutes. In addition to that, some other guys. So I think Devon Hamilton and Timmy Jernigan just show up. Those are 2 300-pound guys, and they give Derrick Henry a tougher day than he's used to.
Yep, agreed. I think investing in the defense here is the smart contrarian play. I don't think anybody expects it, but nobody expected last week either. I think I take that under every time, and I'm looking forward to see them make us some money. So I don't know if we were able to line up our guests of the week, but assuming we were not, maybe we shift over to roundtable score predictions. But
yeah,
in this case, it's really less of a round table, more of a just you and me table. But
okay, so I'll set the stage again. The Jaguars are underdogs by 7.5 points. The total is 44, so a relatively low-scoring ball game as predicted by the odds makers. Dave, how do you think this game plays out tomorrow?
So, again, sticking with the contrarian theme, this isn't just because I'm a homer, though I certainly am. I think the Jaguars take this in spades. I think this is the official beginning of the new beginning. I think the Jaguars win in a landslide, 31-17, with a few of the Titans scores coming late.
Wow, that is a bold city prediction right there.
How about you, Jeff?
I think the total is pretty accurate. You have to admit that the defense is going to give up more points than last week. You just can't expect this kind of super timely turnovers and 4th down stops to occur. So I think the Titans get I want to say 2, but probably 3 touchdowns. So I think they end up putting up 24 points. And our Jaguars put up 27, and we take the ball game.
I love it.
27-24 Jaguars. I think Minshew comes out and throws at least 2. He only threw for 173 yards last game, but he's so efficient doing it. So, I think we have a lot left in the war chest. That's what I'm looking for. And I think Jay Gruden gets really creative.
Yep, I echo all of that. I think this would be pretty special if they can put a stake down and say, we are the AFC South. So coming out of this week, if the Jaguars pull off a W, I think we're the undisputed leader in the AFC South, heading into a relatively easier opponent in the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, don't want to look ahead to next week, but it starts to get pretty interesting if they can break the curse and close this one out in Nashville.
Let me pause you there, Dave. I forgot to mention we do have a mailbag this week. So the Jalen Ramsey mailing it in mailbag.
Oh, I love it.
And we have Mac Donald 0123. His question for us is, are we forever cursed to not have a good tight end? It's insane to me that we can't figure that out.
It's a great question, and it's a topic that I think every Jaguars fan grapples with, maybe on a weekly basis. I do think we're cursed. I think it's a combination of us having tremendously bad luck at the position and the inability of the front office, not the back office, to invest in the position. I understand that they spent draft capital on Josh Oliver last year, or I guess now 2 years ago. The guy pretty much hasn't seen the field, and when he has, you haven't even noticed that he was there. I would have loved to have seen the Jags, go after somebody in the mid rounds again of this year's draft, given how much draft capital we had. But they didn't. And so for the time being, I think we're going to be a little bit cursed. We talked about this a little bit early in the game. The big upside here is that Tyler Eifert returns to what I believe was his 2015 form. He had over 50 catches and 8 touchdowns.
Under Jay Gruden
in the Bengals. That would be amazing. I don't think we can bank on that. But the hope is there. So, I'll just close my eyes and act like I usually do. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not one to be superstitious, but I am a little stitious. And when we released Mercedes Lewis after the 2017 season, that was just a terrible mistake. We were not in a position to be getting rid of tight ends, and especially a personality like that who's a leader and a rock in the locker room. So maybe there is a bit of a hex on us, but I do think, as I said earlier in the show, that in the red zone we draw up some really great plays for Tyler Eifert. Their linebackers are thumpers. Tyler Eifert's a really athletic guy.
Not particularly good in pass coverage.
Yeah. So I think that there's a mismatch there that we're going to exploit. So
and don't sell short O'Shag Hennessy.
Yes.
Every once in a while, he can make some magic happen.
Yeah,
he's
Blake's
a favorite. He was Foles' favorite. He's Minshew's favorite. So love me some O'Shag early on a nice Sunday afternoon.
Well, Mac Walker, thank you for the question. That was a good one. Closing statements. Thanks everyone for listening. I want to congratulate Blake Bortles on his second child, who is on the way. So congratulations, Blake. Blake's still hanging out here in Jacksonville.
Speaking of future Jaguars tight ends.
Blake Bortles. Oh, the spawn of Blake. That could be our savior, Mac. So stay tuned. In about 22 years, we might have a bona fide tight end here in Jacksonville.
All right. With that, everybody, this has been The Back Office with Dave and Jeff. Always a pleasure to have you. Let's go Jags, baby.
Go Jags. Duval.